In Caracas, Venezuela's capital, the evening news carried a message that President Nicolás Maduro intended not just for his own people, but for the world. Speaking in a nationally broadcast address carried across every television and radio network, the Venezuelan leader chose words carefully crafted to confront growing tension with Washington. His remarks came in response to US President Donald Trump's most recent threat that American forces would not hesitate to shoot down Venezuelan jets if they posed any danger to US military aircraft in the region. The words of a South American president beamed across the nation held both urgency and reassurance. It was a moment where geopolitics and domestic sentiment merged, a stage on which Maduro sought to present himself as a leader of restraint, not escalation. He was determined to portray Venezuela as a country that stood for sovereignty, dialogue, and peace rather than provocation. At the heart of his message was a simple but forceful declaration. Nicolás Maduro said, "Because I have said it many times, I respect him," referring to Donald Trump. We have had and continue to have differences, but none of the differences we have and have had can lead to a military conflict or violence in South America and our America. None. It has no justification for it. It is not true. It is not true. What they are saying about Venezuela is not true. The remark was not only a direct reference to Trump, but also a broader rejection of narratives coming from the United States. Maduro framed Washington's portrayal of Venezuela as false, exaggerated, and dangerous. He pointed out that political disputes, however sharp, should never become an excuse for war in the Americas. Throughout his speech, Maduro struck a tone of conciliation mixed with defiance. On the one hand, he extended an olive branch, repeating his willingness to hold talks with Washington. On the other, he demanded respect. Respect for Venezuela's sovereignty, respect for its people, and respect for its independence. In one of his more pointed statements, the Venezuelan leader drew attention to what he described as the futility of Washington's stance. Nicolás Maduro said, "What they are saying about Venezuela is not true. It is a dead end that they are getting themselves into. It is a dead end, and Venezuela has always been willing to talk, to engage in dialogue, but we demand respect for our country and our people." This duality, an openness to negotiation paired with a firm line against perceived insults, is characteristic of Maduro's rhetoric. It seeks to balance domestic political survival with the international image of a leader resisting US dominance. By framing US intelligence claims as a dead end, he sought to expose Washington as misguided and unwilling to recognize reality. Maduro also addressed Trump directly in his message, underscoring a theme of mutual respect. Venezuela, he insisted, was not a country that disrespected others, and it expected that same principle to be honored. Nicolás Maduro said, "With all due respect, Mr. President Trump, here in Venezuela, you are respected, and Venezuela respects others so that it may be respected in return. With the respect we have earned, we tell you that those intelligence reports they give him, Trump, are not true. Venezuela today is a country free from coca leaf production, cocaine, and is a country that fights against drug trafficking." By asserting that Venezuela was free from coca leaf production and actively combating narco-trafficking, Maduro attempted to dismantle one of Washington's long-standing criticisms. For years, US officials have accused Venezuela of being a hub for drug trafficking routes, charges that Caracas has consistently denied. Maduro's choice to confront these accusations head-on reflected both sensitivity and strategy. In a country plagued by economic crisis, hyperinflation, and international sanctions, defending national dignity becomes central to government messaging. His words were designed to resonate with Venezuelans who feel unfairly targeted by the United States, while also signaling to international observers that Caracas remained committed to international norms. The timing of this exchange between Caracas and Washington is important. The region has witnessed mounting friction, particularly with US warnings over Venezuela's military activities. Trump's statement about shooting down Venezuelan aircraft marked a sharp escalation, a reminder that despite diplomatic overtures, military threats still hovered over the relationship. Maduro's broadcast was both a rebuttal and a reassurance. He wanted Venezuelans to know that their government was not seeking war. At the same time, he wanted Washington to hear that Venezuela would not bow to pressure or threats based on what he called false intelligence reports. Observers note that this rhetorical dance has been a constant feature of US-Venezuela relations. Maduro, like his predecessor Hugo Chavez, often uses confrontations with Washington to rally domestic support. But unlike Chavez's fiery theatrical speeches, Maduro's tone in this broadcast was measured. He aimed to sound reasonable, calm, and unwilling to engage in reckless escalation. By repeating his respect for Trump, Maduro appeared to be sending two simultaneous messages, one to Trump personally and another to the international community. The personal message was meant to temper hostility, suggesting that despite insults and threats, Venezuela's leader still recognized Trump as a counterpart worthy of acknowledgement. The broader message was for the world that Venezuela, under pressure and sanctions, was still a responsible actor in global affairs. His insistence that intelligence reports provided to Trump were not true hinted at a larger battle over narrative. By calling out these reports, Maduro sought to discredit US claims about Venezuela's role in the drug trade and about its military intentions. Such framing is designed not just for Venezuelan audiences, but also for countries watching from Latin America, Europe and beyond, where opinions about Washington's policy in the region vary widely. Inside Venezuela, the president's message also carried an important domestic function. The nation remains mired in a prolonged economic and political crisis. International sanctions have deepened shortages of food, medicine and fuel. Many Venezuelans have fled abroad in search of better opportunities. Amid such hardship, Maduro's televised speech offered a narrative of resistance. By painting Venezuela as a peaceful, anti-drug and sovereign nation unfairly maligned by the United States, Maduro appealed to national pride. His emphasis on dialogue reinforced the image of a leader seeking peace, while his rejection of false intelligence defended Venezuela's honor. The fact that this message was broadcast nationwide was no coincidence. In times of external threat, governments often turn to mass media to unify citizens behind a common cause. For Maduro, the cause is defending Venezuela from what he portrays as unjust and aggressive US policies. Beyond Venezuela's borders, Maduro's remarks carry weight for South America at large. His insistence that no differences justify war in the Americas is also a warning against external military intervention in the region. Latin America has long memories of Cold War conflicts, coups and interventions. By positioning himself as the defender of peace in our America, Maduro aimed to tap into regional sensitivities about sovereignty and self-determination. While some governments in the hemisphere have been critical of Maduro's rule, others remain wary of Washington's heavy-handed approach. His words, therefore, are designed to resonate not just domestically, but regionally, as part of a broader struggle for legitimacy and solidarity. In the end, Maduro's nationally broadcast speech was more than just a response to Trump's threats. It was a carefully crafted attempt to balance defiance with diplomacy, nationalism with dialogue, and domestic reassurance with international messaging. His central claim remained unwavering. Differences with the United States, however deep, cannot and should not justify war. By framing Venezuela as a nation of respect, dialogue, and anti-drug commitment, Maduro sought to defend his government's image while also challenging Washington's portrayal. And as the president closed his remarks, one theme echoed above all: peace in the Americas, respect between nations, and a rejection of falsehoods. His message for Venezuelans and for the world was clear: sovereignty and dialogue must prevail over conflict and coercion. Because I have said it many times, I respect him, referring to Donald Trump. We have had and continue to have differences, but none of the differences we have and have had can lead to a military conflict or violence in South America and our America. None. It has no justification for it. It is not true. It is not true.
Violencia a Suramérica y nuestra América. Ninguno. No tiene justificación. No es verdad.
What they are saying about Venezuela is not true. What they are saying about Venezuela is not true. It is a dead end that they are getting themselves into. It is a dead end, and Venezuela has always been willing to talk, to engage in dialogue, but we demand respect for our country and our people.
Ha estado en la disposición de conversar, dialogar. Pero así como estamos en la disposición de conversar y dialogar, exigimos respeto para nuestro país, para nuestro pueblo.
With all due respect, Mr. President Trump, here in Venezuela, you are respected, and Venezuela respects others so that it may be respected in return. With the respect we have earned, we tell you that those intelligence reports they give him, Trump, are not true. Venezuela today is a country free from coca leaf production, cocaine, and is a country that fights against drug trafficking.
Venezuela hoy por hoy es un país libre de producción de hojas de coca, libre de producción de cocaína, y es un país que combate el narcotráfico y está triunfando en el combate contra el narcotráfico.